Welcome to the webinar this evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Elsa Gallagher, and I'm the Habitat Program Director for the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund. And we've got a good program scheduled for you tonight. Our Executive Director, Pete Berthelsen, is going to talk with you about the ins and outs of the program and share a little storytelling, probably, if I know him at all. I was going to start this evening with a wildlife biologist, a bee researcher, and a beekeeper walk into a prairie. It's the start of a really good joke. It's also the start of a really great program called the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund in 2017, when folks got together, put their minds to it, and developed a program for landowners that would provide benefits to pollinators because of such, the declines that we're seeing in the pollinator population. So I'm going to let Pete go ahead and get started with you this evening. What I would like you to do, if you've got time, is to go to the chat function at the bottom of your page and type your name and location in, just so we know where you're coming from. If you have questions during the webinar, there is a button down there called Q&A. Please put your questions in the Q&A button, and that's where we'll answer those questions. We're going to take a little time at the end of Pete's talk to answer a few of your questions, if we can get to them, if we have enough time tonight. So we're excited that you're joining us. Beautiful weather here and where I'm at in mid-Missouri in the high 60s. So we're having a good spring already. So Pete, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Elsa. I'll slide right into the first slide. Thank you, everybody, for joining tonight. If you happen to have registered and couldn't make it tonight, everybody that registered and everybody that is also on tonight will eventually receive a link with a recording to tonight's presentation, so you can replay it, share it with others, and that sort of thing. And tonight we're going to talk about establishing, protecting, and promoting high quality habitat. And we'll jump right into it by saying that there are a tremendous number of challenges that are facing us folks that care about many different environmental issues. I'll give you just a couple to kind of give a perspective and lay the groundwork for tonight. You may have heard very recently that monarch butterfly populations, the eastern monarch butterfly population, is actually being considered as listing for an endangered or threatened species. Those populations have seen an 85% decline in the past 25 years, very significant. Commercial beekeepers this year are facing incredible challenges where they have experienced between 60 and 100% hive losses over the winter. 1 in 4 native bee species are facing extinction. Grassland birds, a 53% population decline in the last 40 plus years. And here's just the last factoid to kind of show you. Out of all the honey that we consume as a nation in a given year, only 25% of it is currently actually produced within the United States. And that's not because we don't want to produce more, it's because we have been unable to produce more. Those are some really significant challenges that kind of all relate back to environmental issues. So the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund, one of the things that you'll hear from me tonight is that we have reimagined habitat programs, how we think about quality, the longevity of habitat programs, how to produce the maximum benefits from what we do, and then really delivering multiple environmental benefits and biodiversity. And that's the mindset that we've had from the very beginning of the organization. So we're going to talk tonight about one of the habitat programs that the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund has. We call it our flagship habitat program. It's been around since day one. It's called Seed a Legacy. And that is a program that delivers our mission through the use of what we call next gen conservation solutions. And that goes to how a seed mixture is designed, how a site is prepared for success, and it is different than most other conservation programs out there. And one of the key aspects of this slide is that you can actually receive free next gen conservation seed mixtures from us in a chunk of the country. And we're going to talk about that chunk here in a little bit. If your project is between 2 and 25 acres, we work with projects that are larger than 25 acres, and those projects all get the same seed mixtures at a discounted rate. Could be 75% cost share. But if you're between 2 and 25 acres, it is actually free of cost to the participants. So, what is the key to our success? The key to our success is a couple of things that I want to touch on. We work with all kinds of sites and all kinds of landowners. It's really simple. If the project has a high likelihood of having a great pollinator health and habitat outcome, we're excited to work with it. We design all of our projects with 2 different seed mixtures that we call next gen conservation program seed mixtures. They're very precisely designed for the project, for the location, and what the objectives are that we're trying to reach. And one of the other ways that's kind of pretty unique in how we do it is we spend a lot of time working on very thorough site preparation. And then it doesn't end there. It talks about maintenance and management that we continue going forward on projects as well. Those are some of the keys to our projects. And one of the things that I said was that we work with all kinds of sites. So think in your mind, that could be solar energy projects, land that is owned by a corporation, land that's owned by a municipality, or certainly, obviously, private landowners. If it can produce a great pollinator health and habitat outcome, we are a potential partner for you to work on your project. And we deliver that with what I often refer to as the small but mighty team. You've already met Elsa tonight, front and center, but to her right in the photo is our Director of Marketing and Communications, Lindsay. We have our Development Director, and in the back row, we have our Operations Director, Brett, and then myself. A small but mighty team that's delivering really significant things that I'm going to talk about here tonight. So how does a project work? Well, there's kind of a project timeline, and 365 days of the year, anybody can go to our website and submit an interest form, an application. I would like to do a pollinator project and I would like to work with the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund. Step number 2 is we spend a significant amount of time, almost always 1 full growing season, preparing that site. Then we move to the pre-approval stage where you then have one-on-one technical guidance with our biologists about your specific project. What has the site prep been? How's it going? And how are we working through that? Then we go to the contract stage. The seed is delivered and then it's planted. But our resources and our support don't end there. Once the seed is in the ground, and most of our projects are planted in the fall of the year because we've spent the entire previous growing season getting the site prepared and ready to go, then we start looking at how we're working with that site to manage it in the first growing season, when that project starts happening, when you have significant weed issues in the first year that you need to address, and that sort of thing. So there's a real project timeline that we follow with all of these projects. And to assist you in that, we have a lot of resources. The first thing that I want to tell you is that if you have a smartphone, take a picture of the QR code that's on this screen because it will take you to one of our most significant resources, which is our pollinator habitat guide on how to both establish and manage your site. And that's available free of charge. It's broken down into sections to provide you step-by-step guidance on how to prepare your project and to have great success. But we also have all kinds of other webinars recorded like we're doing tonight. We have video tutorials, pollinator habitat tips. We have different printed information that you can download and use and share with others that are interested. So we have lots and lots of different resources that are available to help you. And it's all about how do we produce the results that bring about innovation and the pollinator habitat outcomes that we want. So the next thing that I want to do is do a little bit of storytelling and tell you how the Seed a Legacy program has started from where we first were working in the Dakotas, and then each year this program in the states that the Seed a Legacy program works in and is offered in has continued to grow to today, where we're now getting ready to think about expanding a new venture into Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. But the areas that are in orange are good to go today. If you're looking at this and it's like, well, my state is not in there, we're going to talk about that tonight because this needs to expand and to grow larger. This is where we're at today, but our next growth and expansion is now being highlighted on there. And if you are looking at the area west of the Rocky Mountains and you're like, what, how come we're not in there? That's stage 2. We're coming to that area as well. But right now I want to spend just a moment and show you why we have selected the areas that we're in and why our growth has occurred in the way that it has. And the first image that I want to show you is we call this a heat map. If you are in a part of the world that is either in red or orange on this map, you are ground zero for the areas where if we're going to have successful monarch butterfly population recovery in the eastern monarch butterfly population, that's the area where work has to happen. That red and orange area coincides directly with how the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund has grown this particular program in the areas that we're working in. But it doesn't end there. Here's a map that shows rusty patched bumblebee current populations and where we know that they occur. If you are saying, well, I've never even heard of the rusty patched bumblebee, that is an endangered species. There's a number of bumblebee species that we could put up the same map to show you how it overlays directly with where we're working and how we're trying to benefit multiple species. How about this one? I already talked about honey production in the country. We only produce 25% of the honey that we consume as a nation right now. The most important states for honey production and honeybee hive health are in some of those states where we're currently working. And the last image that I'll show you is here's a map that shows by county in the United States those locations where native bee populations are most imperiled. And again, that lays over and coincides pretty directly with exactly where we're currently working. We need to expand. We're going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes. We need to expand, and that's a lot of what tonight's presentation is about. But that is how and why we are where we are today here in 2025. This is an exciting slide that we want to show you. This is a line chart that shows the projects that we've done and the applications that we're getting to do projects. First thing that I want to tell you, obviously we've had exponential growth in the number of applications that we're getting for projects. 2025 is not yet listed on here, but I can tell you that in the months of January and February in 2025, we've had 163 applications for support come in. If you amortize that out for the rest of the year, that's a pace to have 978 applications in 2025. So if 2025 were listed on here, I'm guessing that the line chart is going to go off the top of this chart right here. We have great interest in the program. The early years of the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund are what I often refer to as our proof of concept stage. People were just learning about the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund and learning what we do to deliver pollinator health and habitat outcomes. They've now heard of us. They're now learning what we're doing. There's more projects on the ground. They're seeing the great results, and interest is literally exploding. Great problem to have. A really cool part of our proof of concept stage that we had is that we had 3 different research projects that looked at and determined what the value of a Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund seed mixture was to pollinators. And we documented the outcomes of our next gen conservation seed mixtures. This set of graphs that you're looking at right here, and I'll explain it in a little bit more detail, but it's just some of the research that has documented that value. The 3 research projects, the first one was conducted by the federal agency, the U.S. Geological Survey. Then we also had a research project conducted by the University of Minnesota Bee Lab and the University of Nebraska Bee Lab. Each study showed the same results. Next gen conservation program seed mixtures produced superior pollinator value. So in this one here, the first part of this graph all the way on the right shows that Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund seed mixtures had twice as many flowers as all the other options that were available to pollinators on the landscape. And that is being, in this study, they looked at everything that was available to bees. USDA Conservation Reserve Program, natural wildlife refuges, state wildlife areas, pasture, other grasslands, roadsides, anything that could hold a floral resource available for a pollinator were all compared together. And the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund had twice as many flowers. We had 3 times as many honeybee visits and use, and 8 times the amount of native bee use and visits on our projects. Something that's really exciting. Here's my first story tonight. In the state of Minnesota, the University of Minnesota Bee Lab, we designed the seed mixtures for a great, really important study that they did in the southwestern part of Minnesota, working with private landowners. And they looked at our 2 seed mixture approach and what the value was. One of the really cool things that happened in that study was they had 5 new native bee records. Okay, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, he says that's important, but I don't know what that means. 5 new native bee records means 5 native bee species never before recorded to have ever been found in the state of Minnesota were found on Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund seed mixture projects. Pretty cool. If there ever was an example of if you build it, they will come, that's an example right there, and something that we're really proud to have been a part of. So this image right here is the story of great results don't happen overnight. Lots of times in pollinator habitat, we use the phrase, in year 1, the project sleeps. In year 2, the project creeps. And in year 3, the project leaps. And this is a set of photos from the same project on the right side here, taken in year 1, and in year 2, and in year 3. So they don't happen overnight, but when you follow our next gen conservation program process, it really produces stunning and very significant results. So what's the key to our success? Well, for the most part, it's working with habitat advocates like you, the people listening to this webinar today. People that care passionately about delivering and achieving multiple environmental benefits. This is the core of our vision and our mission statement at the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund. So that core of our vision and mission statement is again being delivered by this small but mighty team. And we're focused on how to continue to grow that success. So we're at the stage where in order to keep meeting new emerging opportunities, expanding into more states and regions like yours, if you're on this webinar today and your state, your region isn't colored in, we want to get there, we have to get there, and to do that, we have to continue to build our capacity. So think back to that line chart that I showed that showed the number of applications that we're getting and that exponential growth. We want to be able to meet that exponential growth. We want to continue to grow, expanding more states. And I would give you 3 thoughts as I kind of wrap up this real quick webinar tonight. What's next? How do we grow? Number 1, if you want to bring the Seed a Legacy program to your state, let us know. We want to collaborate with you to help make that happen. So by designing projects that think about delivering multiple environmental benefits and biodiversity, think about all the people that you know that could be interested in this program that have never heard of it before. Help us get the word out there even more. And if you think about all the people that you know that care deeply about things like water quality, pollinator health and habitat, soil health, clean renewable energy, food sustainability, honeybee and native bee health, those are opportunities to help us grow and expand our program. There's just a lot of people out there that would be interested in the results that come from these kinds of projects. Number 2, help us to identify support to bring these programs to your state. We need your thoughts and ideas. The people on this webinar can make that happen. We need to be connected with the people in your state that want to see us expand into those states and regions and can help make it happen. And the third thing that everybody can do, think about becoming a leader in helping us raise the funds that are needed to grow and expand into your state, or meeting more of the requests in your existing state. If you're in a state where this program is already available, you can see that we're getting way more in requests than we can possibly work with. Help us make that happen. Think about that projected number for 2025, 978 applications. Those are all projects that are ready to launch. They're on the launching pad, they're ready to go, and they could become a project, a result, a field of wildflowers like we see here in just the next few months. So it's a really exciting time at the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund, and you can play an important role in helping us grow. So with that, I'm gonna get ready to turn this over to Elsa, but if you want to chat with us about that, break out that smartphone again, scan the QR code, or send us an email at info@beeandbutterflyfund.org. We would love to talk with you. You are going to be the key to our growth and continued success. We've demonstrated that proof of concept. We know it works. We have the research. We have the results. We have the projects. We have all the photos of the beautiful, stunningly visual projects that are out there. We just need your help to make sure that we can continue to do even more. So with that, Elsa, I'm going to turn it back over to you to see what we have for any questions that might
Sure.
have come up tonight and just to continue the discussion.
Great, Pete. Well, thank you very much. We have quite a few folks on here this evening from a lot of different states. We have our core states, and so I'm not going to mention those because we do, though I will mention that we do have Kentucky and Pennsylvania, which are our two newest states. There are several folks on from those states. We've
Yeah.
got folks from Maryland, California, New Hampshire, Tennessee, Georgia, Oregon, South Carolina, and Oklahoma. So in addition to our core states, which I think almost every one of those is represented as well, those are the
Yeah.
additional states that are represented by folks that are on here tonight. So I'm going to go through the questions that folks have asked here, Pete, for us, and start those with you. And I might give you a little bit of help on the first one, and it's from Doug, and Doug's a Missourian, and Doug is asking about were the native prairies surveyed during those research projects where we looked at the seed mixes. And I just wanted to
Yes.
remind you, Pete, and I know that we've done those IMMP surveys, and those were all done in Missouri this last year. So, but you can take
Yep.
it from there.
Yeah. So if I was to go back to that slide, and maybe I'll scroll back while I'm giving you the answer, the native prairies are going to be in the category that is called grasslands. So the answer to that is yes. Those were considered in that study as well that was conducted by the U.S. Geological Survey. And this is one slice of what the results showed. The other part of their study compared us very cleanly and directly to other pollinator habitat programs and USDA conservation programs. So the answer to that is yes.
Great. Evie's asking, Evie's from New Hampshire, how do we procure enough wildflower seed that would be native to their area?
Yeah, so we work with the largest seed vendors in the nation. We design our seed mixtures uniquely for each state or sub-region in a state. There's no scenario where the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund goes to the shelf and grabs, here's our pollinator mix and presents it. It is uniquely designed, and then those seed sources come from some of the largest seed vendors in the nation that we're working with.
Well, Thomas is going to ask a great question coming from, you might know our background, but maybe he doesn't. Thomas is asking, how effective are these plantings for deer and pheasant habitat?
Yeah, well,
Oh.
both Elsa and I, if we went back in the Wayback Machine, are upland wildlife biologists. Elsa specialized in quail, I specialized in pheasants. And I think I'm going to speak for Elsa and certainly for myself to say that one of the things that really motivated us in our career to pick up the mantle and really be concerned about great pollinator habitat is great pollinator habitat is a glue that connects to all the things that we care about as wildlife biologists, upland game birds, deer, turkey, but also water quality, soil health, clean renewable energy, food sustainability, grassland birds. It is a unique connection that can touch every one of those. And so Elsa and I in our career, we happily talk to people all the time about pheasants and quail and upland wildlife and all sorts of things like that. And it was very fulfilling, and we talked about lots of things, but we both very quickly learned that by talking about pollinator habitat, our message of what we talked about, how do you design the habitat? How do you establish it? How do you manage it? How do you get great results? None of that changed, but by focusing more on the pollinator health and habitat issue, the audience that we were able to talk to was very significantly larger. And again, I just would reemphasize that pollinator habitat has the opportunity to touch all of those issues. And I would dare say that anybody listening on the webinar today would be hard pressed to know somebody that didn't care about one of those issues. People, you might have somebody that's a good friend that, monarch butterflies, yeah, whatever. But water quality, soil health, food sustainability, climate change, and clean renewable energy, one of those issues is going to touch virtually everybody that you know. And that's why in our mission, we talk about multiple environmental benefits and biodiversity. The name is the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund, but it really is a big tent that touches and considers all of those multiple environmental issues.
Couldn't have said it much better, Pete. I still remember talking to Zach Browning about his project, and Zach's helped Pete start the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund. He's a beekeeper, a very large beekeeper. And he still, to this day, still talks about how when he walks out there to check his bee yards in his Seed of Legacy projects, that he always kicks up a pheasant. And it was funny because I actually visited his site once and walked out there on that site while you were doing an interview over with him, Pete. And I walked off, little ways down the road, 100 yards or so, and got up a whole brood of pheasants right in the middle of that Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund project. It was pretty neat. So
it's not very hard to look at imagery like this and know that many of the forbs that are in our mixtures are highly attractive to deer. We call them ice cream species for deer. Some of the different species that are in there, highly attractive, highly selective, and for upland game birds, this is the brood rearing habitat that's so critical to increasing those populations as well.
I think we have enough time maybe to squeeze in two questions. I want to end with a larger question, Pete, but I'll go with this. If you don't have the 2 acres, what can you do personally on a smaller scale? Can you make a difference?
Yeah, remember the story of the 5 new native bee records from Minnesota? And I said, if you build it, they will come. One of the great things about pollinator habitat is you can have a very significant positive impact in your backyard, in a butterfly garden, on your porch, on your deck with potted flowers. If you build it, if you provide it, they will come. And so that is also one of the things that I think really motivates Elsa and I and everybody else on this small but mighty team, is that we have the opportunity to have a very significant positive impact about the things that we care deeply about.
Well, Pete, I have a whole list of other questions, but we could go on all night. There's a whole bunch more questions.
One more.
But I will give you one more. And we're just going to go in order and just ask the next one, which is, what is a projected time frame of your expansion? This was specific to California, but and would funding or grants expedite this process?
Yeah, so I'll answer the last part of that question first. Yes, a resounding yes. If you go back to the 3 things that I listed that people on this webinar today can do to help us, connect us to others, be a leader in helping source out some support. Support means funding. So yes, grants are an opportunity, but I firmly believe that our mission and our results, and as this slide shows right here, the interest, the explosive exponential growth in the number of people that are coming to us wanting project support, help with the seed mixtures and all that sort of thing, shows that we have the opportunity to really make a difference. And right now we're at the stage where we have to build capacity. We have to be able to raise more dollars to afford more seed to give to people, to add people to our small but mighty team to be able to do that. So that's a resounding yes. And every one of those states where somebody listed that they were from tonight is an important and critical state. I didn't mean to imply by showing how and why we selected the states for our current growth means that other areas of the country aren't equally as important. We've just tried to be very strategic in our growth. So last thought on that, Elsa, is one of the decisions that we made early on is the Bee and Butterfly Habitat Fund is not going to take a shotgun approach of doing something every single place in the country and doing a few, just one or two projects here and then one or two projects over there. We want to grow and expand in a fashion where we can have a significant impact and a significant number of projects in where we're doing our current work. So we absolutely need help. We're asking everybody that's on the webinar today to take a look at this image that's on the screen right now. Exponential growth. And we need your help to help us make that happen so that we can meet more emerging opportunities and to be able to do more projects. And the financial support that we would get is going to be going into the ground just that fast. So I'll finish it right there so that anybody else that wants to can scan that QR code to know how to get a hold of us, how to connect us to people in your state, in your region that care about this, maybe haven't heard about it, but would love to support an effort like this. And that's what we need your help to do today. Connect us, please. We would appreciate it.